Welcome back to Arise News Hour. I'm Charles Aniagolu. To Ethiopia now, as the country holds a day of mourning following the failed coup over the weekend. The suspected ringleader of the attempted overthrow in the country's Amhara region has been shot dead by police, according to state media. Brigadier General Asaminu Seagate was killed on the outskirts of Amhara's capital, Bahir Dar. Ethiopia's Army General, Chief General Seir Mekonnen was killed while trying to foil the coup. The Attorney General of the Amhara region has also died from his wounds. It brings the total number of people who are known to have died to 7. The Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has urged people to unite against what he said were evil forces set on dividing the country. Right. Well, as you might have heard there, we are hoping to cross over to the analyst and African Affairs publisher of Africa Briefing, John Ofei-Ansah, to get his take on all of this. But what I was just saying, which I might want to reiterate whilst we're trying to reach him, is that, of course, the police have shot dead the Brigadier General who was responsible for that coup. There's also, as we understand it, a heavy military presence in the Amhara region where the coup attempt took place. And earlier today, we understand that the police commissioner there gave a press conference saying that the bodyguard who is alleged to have killed the country's chief of army staff killed himself immediately after that incident. So let's go straight away now to John Ofei-Ansah, who is the African Affairs analyst and publisher of Africa Briefing. Thank you for joining us, John. The coup attempt is for all intents and purposes over, but we understand that there are still some people on the run, even though the man who is seen as the mastermind behind the attempted overthrow, the Brigadier General, is now said to have been shot dead.
Yes, he's been shot dead. I mean, he actually organized the whole, what else we can say it now, describe it now, an attempted coup against the president of the Amhara, autonomous region, ostensibly as a preemptive strike, because the slain president of the region, was making moves to rein him in, for stoking ethnic tensions and recruiting militias. I mean, the slain Brigadier General actually went as far as recording a video that circulated on Facebook over the past week, that the people of Amhara must rise up against other opponents from other perceived opponents from other ethnic groups in the country.
So, I mean, what sense do you get, John? I know you've got contacts in and around Ethiopia. What sense do you get of the current mood in the country on this day of national mourning as the country continues to come to terms with those bloody incidents over the weekend?
Well, it hasn't affected the general mood. I mean, rather, well, happily, I could say. People are going about their normal duties. The only snag is that internet connection has been severed. But this, it was severed about 10 or so days ago, ostensibly to avoid cheating in the secondary school final exams. So it was briefly restored late last week. But consequent to this attempted push, in Amhara region, the internet, connection was severed again. But apart from that, people are going their normal duties. Addis Ababa is calm, vehicles are roaming, everything. So it has not had any can I say, profound effects, on the general population of Ethiopia.
And do we know what impacts all this might have on Abiy Ahmed's government? I mean, the killing of his army chief must be a big blow, as well as the death of the governor of Amhara region, who I understand is a key ally of Mr. Ahmed.
Abiy Ahmed, since coming to power last year, has been generally tolerant and exercise a lot of restraint. We can recall that about a year ago there was an attempt on his life when somebody threw a bomb, at a rally, he was speaking at. But apart from the assailant, the perpetrator or assailant being arrested, nothing much was done by way of recommendations or so on and so forth. But this latest incident in Amhara and Addis Ababa may rather maybe push Abiy Ahmed to strengthen his hand. Already since he came to power, he sort of purged the army and intelligence services, right? So maybe it will lead to some more purges, and strengthen, security, in the country.
Now, you might have touched on this a bit earlier, John, but what does all this tell us about the ethnic tensions in Ethiopia and the infighting within the country's armed forces?
Yes, since the country has about 80 ethnic groupings, right, and according to the Constitution, there are nine autonomous regions based on ethnicity, based on ethnic groupings. Okay, but these tensions have been persisting for quite a long time. But they were sort of clamped upon, before Abiy came to power. But since he came, it appeared the tensions, are rising up again. Because this general Chige, Asmamaw Chige, who was killed earlier this afternoon, was actually trying to stoke those tensions, those ethnic tensions, calling on the Amhara people to rise up against their perceived enemies from other ethnic groups.
And of course, John, the Abiy Ahmed is, I think, the first Muslim president, prime minister in Ethiopia. Most have been Christians. I mean, has that got anything to do with what is going on there now?
I wouldn't say so. The problem is that since he came to power, he's made sweeping reforms, released political prisoners, made peace with their Ethiopia's long-standing enemy, Eritrea. And again, like I said earlier on, reined in the excesses of the army and the security agencies, right? So this move that he made, reining in the security agencies, the army, the excesses and all that, maybe might be the actual cause of these sentiments or these moves against him.
Okay, John, thank you very much indeed. Always appreciate your analysis. John Ofe Ansah is, of course, the publisher of Africa Briefing and an African affairs analyst. He was talking to me there from our studios in London.